week or so ago, the Bowerman announced the finalists: 3 men and 3 women. You only get 3; you don't get 4.
Mhm.
Um, Trey Cunningham, Aiden Owens, Randolph Ross on the men's side. So great hurdler, heptathlete, and 400-meter runner. And then on the women's side, which was where the controversy is brewing, you had Anna Hall of Florida, Cameron Rogers of California, who I will say this, a lot of people who are upset about these finalists don't really truly understand how great Cameron Rogers was. And then Abby Steiner, which we know what she's done. Now, obviously, these are 3 well-deserving women. They all have a resume, in my opinion, that is worthy of winning. But there was a 4th woman who I think had an equal resume to these 3 women. It just happened to be a year where there was a true cutoff after 4 and not a cutoff after 3. And so that 4th woman was Jasmine Moore of Florida, who won the long jump and triple jump indoor and outdoor. So she went 4 for 4. She also won
Yep.
SEC's indoor long jumps and triple jumps. She actually had 1 lone loss in the long jump at Texas Relays to collegiates, and that was, a random end of March long jump competition. But
Yep.
I put up the resumes of Anna Hall, Jasmine Moore, Cameron Rogers, and Abby Steiner. And I want to ask you, Kevin, who do
Mhm.
you think should have been left off? Should it have been Jasmine Moore? Should it have been someone else? When we read these resumes, I'll read the resumes kind of quickly for the audio listeners. Basically, Anna Hall, she was second all time in the heptathlon, number 4 all time in the pentathlon, 2-time NCAA champion, both multi events, indoor and outdoor. And then ultimately, her X factor was she did the 400 hurdle heptathlon double, scoring 18 points. Jasmine Moore, 4-time NCAA champion. She had the indoor triple jump record, second outdoor all time. And then
Mhm.
her X factor was she only lost once all season, which was at the Texas Relays long jump. Cameron Rogers, who again I think has the craziest resume when you really look at it. She
Yep.
broke the collegiate record in the hammer throw. She was 10th all time in the weight throw. She only won the NCAA hammer throw title. She didn't win the indoor weight throw title, but she's a weight throw. She's a hammer
Hammer
thrower.
thrower.
Like
Yeah.
that's what she does. And
Good for the
that's
vet.
what she does is because this year she put up 8 of the greatest throws of all time in collegiate history in 2022. The other 2 in the top 10 were from her last year. So now she has thrown 10 times all time great marks. 10 times. It's insane. The top 10 list is just her name. Like, there's not
Yeah.
one random name from 1980 or 1992 or from 2010. All 10 of the greatest hammer throws ever are from this woman.
Yeah.
If that's not greatness, I don't know what it is. And then obviously Abby Steiner, indoor and outdoor 200-meter record, indoor 300-meter record, number 7 all time in the 100, 3-time NCAA champion, indoor outdoor 200 and the 4x4. And I mentioned the 4x4. That's notable because she split 48 seconds twice in a 4x4, once at SECs and again at NCAAs. So 4 great
Listen,
athletes, 4 great resumes. Who are you leaving off?
you can't leave off anybody. This is the problem with this. It's a problem with both the award and it's a problem with the critique of the award because everybody wants to say this person should have been there this every year. Every year this is a problem. But then no one ever says who should be
You're
left
taking
off.
off. Of course.
Because it's easy. I mean, this is awards in every sport. This isn't just track and field. It's why was this person left off? Okay, well then what's the argument to take someone else off? Because if you can tell me that, then we can have an actual discussion about it. Now, if you want to say this year there should have been 4 and they should have bought an extra plane ticket and hotel room, I'm all about it too. If you want to say, hey, every year we're going to send somewhere between 2 and 5 people to the Bowerman or 2 and 4 people and we get to decide, that's fine. I'm cool with it too. The other problem
I don't
is
like that. I think you
track and
pick a
field.
number.
No, because Heisman does that too. Heisman fluctuates based on how close the voting is. So every year in track and field, we have to compare. It's not even apples and oranges. It's like apples and desk chairs, basically, because every athlete does a different event that's in this group, right? You're never going to have two 200-meter runners make it because one's going to prevail over the other. You're never going to have two discus
Yeah.
throwers because it's going to be one over the other. So different events lend themselves to different doubles. Different events lend themselves better to all-time marks, right? Some of the collegiate records are just stronger than others. The NCAA is just tougher in certain events than it is in others. Now, you could distill this whole thing down to one number, right, Gordon? You could say who has the best singular performance, and you could go into the tables and you could look, but that doesn't tell the story of a whole season because a season isn't about one performance. Well, then you could add up all the performances, but again, then you're favoring people who can do doubles versus those who can't. And if you want to get an example of this, I mean, when is a javelin thrower, right? Can a javelin thrower double the same as a 5,000-meter runner? I don't think that's going to be as common as a 5,000-meter runner. So there's a bunch of different issues with this. People get upset. I get it because everybody wants recognition. Everybody wants their season validated. But if you're arguing that Cameron Rogers shouldn't be a finalist, you're basically saying hammer throwers shouldn't be considered for the event or for the award, right? Because there's nothing
Yeah.
else she could have done. Top
Nothing.
10 all time. Now, if you're going to say, all right, well, her throws relative to the rest of the world are different than this other mark relative to the rest of the world. Okay, that's fine. But I'm saying there's nothing else that she could have done in the hammer throw this year. If you're not going to have her make a final, at least, not even you could say she should win the thing because there's nothing else she could have done. Anna Hall, spectacular multi-event, and then sprinkles on the open 400-meter hurdles. Like, are you kidding me? That's amazing. I don't want to leave her off. Jasmine Moore basically did everything that she could do. She doubles in both, right? Sets a record in one of them. Only loses one, and it's a early season meet. Not going to hold that against her. Steiner, you talked about not just what she did in the 200, but what she did in the 4x4, right? What she did in the 100. I guess if you're making a case against her, it's that she lost SECs. Well, who did she lose to? She lost a collegiate record holder, Favor O'Feely. So my opinion is high enough of Favor O'Feely that I'm not counting that as that much of a strike against Steiner to lose to the person who has a collegiate record. The important thing is she came back and she won and she ran even faster. So these discussions are very frustrating for me to hear it. I think, again, if you're going to say this person should be on, you have to say who you're going to take off. And I think just in general, giving one track and field award is just very difficult. And then they compare it to the Heisman. One defensive player has won the Heisman in history, Charles Woodson. And the year he won it, he also played some offense and returned some punts. So you're telling me that the history of college football, objectively, the best football player has never been on defense except for one time? That's the only time in history that the best player was on defense? Or talk about offensive lineman. Nope. Tight end. No, it's always a quarterback or running back or receiver. That's it. Those are the only people who have been the best college football player in each given season. No, of course that's not true. And we have a similar problem with this award, which is it's very difficult to compare. I think they do their best to get it right, but you're comparing things that don't match up. It's tough to compare someone who can double in the 1 and 2 versus maybe someone in the 800 who can't, or someone in the javelin, or a pole vaulter, right? How good does the pole vaulter have to be to win versus someone in the 5 and 10 who can win the 3 and the 5 indoors, win the 5 and the 10 outdoors, and basically they're going to get a spot in the top 3. So that's my frustration with it, and that's the limits of it that I wish people would understand.
So who's your top 4? What's your order?
Top 4.
All that being said, if you had to rank it, the order of those 4 women, how would you rank them?
I mean, that just went against everything I said. Anna Hall I like because it's impossible. I just go with creativity. So I like Anna Hall's season. I like the fact that she did something I hadn't seen before. So I would probably go Anna Hall. But
It's interesting because
they're
I would
they're all right
put
there,
Anna Hall fourth because I would
and
look
that's fine.
at while
I wouldn't blame
she was
anybody for
great.
any order.
Yeah, I would put Anna Hall fourth because while she was great in the heptathlon and pentathlon, she wasn't an all-time great. She was, fourth all-time and sixth or fifth all-time. Something. What was the exact number? I forget. But like, she wasn't. She didn't have. She doesn't own a collegiate record. You know. No,
Yeah,
but
but
what she did getting
again,
and like, are we supposed to like glorify getting second? I guess I don't know. At the same time, she did lose to Britton Wilson, who made Team USA, so she would have won it in any other year. Just having Britton Wilson was in her way. So
yeah,
in a weird way, I honestly think that the third spot was between Anna Hall and Jasmine Moore. I think Cameron Rogers and Abby Steiner were 100% going to be on it, and they had to choose between Hall and Moore. And I think they
2
went with
gators.
Hall because Hall has a more unique um, resume than Jasmine Moore. Jasmine Moore's resume is eerily similar to Couture Orgy. Now, Couture Orgy went 3 for 4. She didn't go 4 for 4, but Couture Orgy had more records. So they valued records more because Jasmine Moore had better win loss. She didn't have as many
Mhm.
records the way Couture Orgy had records versus her win loss. And I think they were kind of like, all right, we're never going to see a heptathlon 400-meter hurdle doubler.
Mhm.
We have to recognize that. And I think they went with her. So I think that was the tiebreaker. And it is funny. Florida was out there like
Yeah,
criticizing Bowerman. Why isn't more on it? Why isn't more? And then a few days later, they're like, Anna Hall should win. And I was like, wait, I thought Moore should have won. I thought it was all about Jasmine Moore. She should have won. And now all of a
they
sudden
were
you're saying Anna
ready.
Hall should win? I was like, wait a minute.
They
Come
were
on.
ready.
They
They
were
had the
willing to know.
response on the ready. They had it saved in drafts, and they're like ready to go as soon as the nominations were announced.
Yeah.
Your track record about the Bowerman getting it right is very clear. There's obviously been some oversights in the past with this award, but it's just there's no way to get it right. There's really no way to. I'm looking at the historical one. They started this in '09. Rupp and Jenny Behringer, Jenny Simpson now at the won it in '09. You go through the list. It's obviously um, a prestigious award. Like the people who've won it are big names, but what you have to do, and this is the same thing with Athlete of the Year for award athletics. What you have to do for some events to win is a lot more difficult
Yeah.
than other events. Look at some years Bolt won Athlete of the Year when he barely raced. He'd show up, he'd win the 1 and the 2 at Worlds or Olympics, and then get Athlete of the Year. And then some other folks would be running week in, week out, winning gold and not get it. And then the whole win loss thing is tough for me too, because that just incentivizes not racing, which
Is
is
that who I
tough.
think is going to win? I I
Uh,
personally
I
I personally would vote for Abby Steiner, but I think Cameron Rogers will win, and I think she deserves to win
yeah,
because I need a I think the way Abby would have won is if she also won the 100, but because she didn't win the 100, that's going to be used
yeah.
against her.
If she
So
won the 100, that's yeah. But again, that's the point. My point is you get penalized for trying to do more, which
yeah,
is silly.
but you also get
Like
penalized for doing less because
right,
Cameron Rogers, everyone's like, you just did the hammer throw. Jasmine
right,
Moore is out there doing 2 events, and it's like, well,
yeah,
there's not the triple hammer and the single hammer. There's just one hammer. So
yeah. Well, and with Steiner, she has the boost for the 4x4. But what if Kentucky didn't have 3 other really good women,
yeah,
so they were not even in that position? So you benefit too. If you benefit from relays, you benefit from being on a really good team. Which not and there's no hammer relay, there's no triple jump relay, there's no heptathlon relay. So it's like an extra opportunity for her to run. You told me before. You said the thing is is slanted towards people who can double. But I think it's particularly slanted towards. I mean, if you 1, 2, and 4, because then you can get an extra title there in a 4x1 or in a 4x4. Not to take away from anybody who's won it in those, and it's also on the distance side of things. 5 and 10, and then indoors you can go 3 and 5. You can go DMR and you can DMR and 3. You can win. You can rack up a bunch of wins that way, basically.
My personal order would go Abby, Cameron, Jasmine Moore, Anna Hall. My prediction order is it goes Cameron, Abby, Anna Hall, and then Jasmine Moore was fourth.